So this is a real 3D printed gun. This looks like a toy at a pool, a water gun that a kid would play with at a pool party. It's really scary that is just as lethal as a regular gun.
And that's a point I underscore to people when I'm talking about ghost guns. Even the name sometimes, ghost gun, it doesn't sound like you're talking about a
Yeah, what
gun
does that
to
mean?
some people. It sounds like it could be a toy, just that name. They're guns. They're guns. They're, as you said, just as lethal. And that's a point I make when we're out doing education on these issues. And you mentioned sort of at a pool party, we have talked to, defendants in cases, particularly younger ones, who talk about these being essentially cool. That's my word, not theirs. But there's an attraction to what you can do. You can print a logo or insignia. You can personalize
Even like
it.
a fashion brand, like Chanel has been emblazoned on these guns to make it cooler.
We've seen a significant uptick in the last few years in our practice, and then also the technology. 3D printers are getting cheaper, and so this is something that we are really mindful of, and have been not just doing enforcement, but engaging with our legislature to sort of strengthen our laws, and also calling on private industry to help us to stop this developing scourge.
So this gun right here, which is a lethal gun, it's got a switch here that could make it automatic.
Yeah.
So this was 3D printed with a printer like what's behind me here.
Yes.
That is wild.
And you can print from your kitchen table. You can buy a 3D printer for $200, $300, and you can print it right from your kitchen table, depending upon how much money you spend on the printer. You could print it in 3 hours, 5 hours, 12 hours. And so, for a state like New York, where we have strong laws and we've traditionally been focused on guns coming in from the Iron Pipeline from Pennsylvania or North Carolina, we now have this, where you can sit right at your kitchen table and hit print.
So you're seeing cases where people have printed guns just like these in bright colors, looks like a toy, and the police are apprehending people who have got this on their person on the street.
Definitely, this is a growing part of our criminal possession practice, and we are doing the enforcement work hand in hand with the NYPD, which is a phenomenal group focused on ghost guns with deep expertise. And we've been collaborating not just on cases as we do, but also, for example, a gun like this, we've talked to younger defendants. We say, well, where did you get this from? And they say, oh, well, I was watching video games on YouTube, Call of Duty, or it's another gun-based game, and I was clicking, and then lo and behold, I'm watching a video showing me how to make a gun. And so we reached out to YouTube, and fortunately they agreed, and they've added in some age restrictions.
So
and
after you reached out to YouTube, they've added age restrictions and trying to shut down these commercials, essentially, advertising how to make a real gun like this.
Exactly, and so we think engaging with industry as a complement to our enforcement is important. We've also reached out to 3D print cloud company. These are made off of sketches, off of CAD files, and reached out to one of the lead companies, the one that we see is used in a number of our cases.
What's a CAD file?
The sketches are on what you and I, or what I would have called a disk, right? So the sketches are loaded on a file, put into the computer, and it is the template.
So you've got cases where you're going against people who are illegally printing these guns, or they have them in their possession, but then you're also reaching out to manufacturers of these guns.
We've had some success. We have a company that has agreed, and they're using AI to make it so that from their platform, it will not print out a gun sketch.
So you're going to the 3D printing companies
Yes.
and you reach out, and then they're putting programs in place to interrupt that cycle. So if somebody wants to print a gun like this, there's a barrier up, and that individual is not allowed, can't do it.
Exactly. And so we have an agreement with a company. We're hoping that more will follow suit.
I mean, that to me is on the forefront of addressing this very real problem that's plaguing communities.
Yes, the enforcement work is important. We'll obviously continue to prosecute cases. That's what we do basically every day here. But this as a complement is so important to stay ahead of the curve. I mean, if we can make it so someone can't print these guns, and I should say these printers have very good purposes, right? We see them in nurseries and daycare centers to print geometric objects to teach kids
Right.
geometry, right?
Right,
They
but
have
with the best of intentions, we created these printers. No one thought that this would be the result, and unfortunately, bad actors have made it possible.
And one other thing I'll add when we were talking about the CAD files, we see, and this is a very, very dangerous combination, we see in chat rooms people swapping sketches on different type of guns. And
So on Discord and other online
Telegram.
platforms, Telegram.
And in those same rooms, we see chatter about hate crimes. And so that intersection between a more accessible ghost gun and hateful invective is toxic and dangerous. And so being on the front foot in this space, bringing cases when we see that they're committing the crimes, but really trying to sort of stop it in the first instance.
When you first started seeing cases where young people, maybe teenagers, were in possession of a gun that looks like this, that looks like a toy, did that set you back? Did you pause for a second?
It is disturbing for anyone to have a weapon like that, but it is particularly disturbing, when young people have something that is lethal and dangerous and view it as fun and a game. And so it's deeply disturbing. And so we're doing the enforcement, we'll do the education, and we want to limit these, particularly for a state like New York, right, where our legislature has enacted strong laws to protect us from traditional guns, and that this, with the development of these, can be used to circumvent those strong laws.